Hey, this is Melissa Klein, and the last video got really long, so I am just starting up again and wanting to show you about a couple of additional things. One is about erasers, and I know some of these don't look like erasers, but they are, as well as sharpeners and something called a pencil stomp. And so I'm going to use my trusty old Kaweco and just kind of create. This is called toning, by the way, where all I'm doing is just laying on a fairly light, medium light-ish. There's no really hard and fast rules about that. You can make it darker or lighter, but generally when you do something called toning, it just is this really great shortcut. And I will be talking more about that. And later things. But I just wanted to quickly introduce this concept to you. So that's all that toning is. You can tone the whole paper, or you can tone an area of a drawing, and that's all that is. You're like, what? Yeah. So when it comes to erasers, there's a lot of variety in them. And some people swear by the kneaded erasers, but I just never could get into them. I know that you can knead them and make them into small things. I prefer to actually take a knife and cut my erasers down into a point. And that works for me. And I tend to prefer the sort of soft white rubber-ish type things. And let me do like a darker area. But you can see that it gives a very nice, clean kind of rub to it, and it just comes off really easy, and I just find that works for me. I also really like the classic pink pearl erasers. So those are those are not something considered fancy, but I will. Yeah, I've in fact the reason why you're not seeing one is because I've used them up. So the pink pearls are great too. And so that's something too. So, and then the other thing I wanted to kind of show you is that you can use your eraser to blend, to shade back. If you really want to cheat on the other exercise, you can use your eraser too. Hint, hint, hint. You can do that. My writing instructor says if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So, but she just means that about horseback stuff, and I mean that about art, not about being a cheater. That's nasty. So, and then to clean it off, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just take my I'll take it. No, what I'm doing right now that you can't see is that I'm rubbing it against my jeans, and then sometimes I'll just rub it against a table or something else, and it will clean off. Sometimes it takes a little more work than not. The jeans I'm wearing are really old and worn, so they're not giving me enough texture to really go for it. I can sometimes use sandpaper. Okay. There's also a wide variety of erasers that come in these little packety things. So, and they're pretty fun. And Pentel seems to be doing a good job. I seem to have quite a few Pentel products, and I didn't even really think about that. This is by Sanford. It's called Tough Stuff Eraser Stick. And this is something fancy, jetpens.com. Oh my god. If you want to blow some money on some stuff, on some, pens and paper, yeah, jet pens. That's where I got the Kaweco. In fact, I'll just write that there so you guys have that right. Jet. Yeah. But I really like them because they have great reviews and people who are just as nerdy about this kind of stuff as I am. So just going to show you, one of the things you don't want to do is have this out too far or else it just breaks off. But, these are kind of a nice, convenient thing, especially if you're one of those people who, has worn their eraser on the back of their pencil down to a nub of nothing. So, and this is pretty much very similar to this original, and I'm not sure what this one is, but there it is. And this is just simply a smaller version of it. I think when I got this, I was doing a lot of detail work, and I wanted just something a little bit, and cutting this down wasn't quite cutting it, so I just wanted something that would get into little details, and I could kind of, you can see I'm almost like drawing with it, this is a great way to add some depth and highlights and, whatever you want it to do. And this is another variation. I forget, I had some project that I really needed to do. I felt like, honestly, I think I was feeling insecure about the project, so I was like, if I have this eraser, I will be okay, because I can erase things. But, and I was fine. I'm like, I don't even remember what the project was, and I don't think I even used this, but I thought I needed it, and that was enough for me. Yeah, and all this is just, it's a little sort of rectangle type thing that's happening. And so you can just get a nice little, little kind of line. Honestly, something like this fulfills most of my needs. This is something I particularly like. This is called a Tombow Mono, or it's like for ink and pencil. And what I like is that this gray side actually has sand in it, so supposedly it takes up ink. Interestingly enough, I've never used it for that. But I tend to use this side if I'm doing like a rough sketch on like a board or like a mural or signage or something that's in pencil. Then I like this for really getting that stuff up. It has the grit, and you can use it on paper as well, but I would say use sparingly, because I'm sure this is kind of the sandpaper. I can really feel the sandpaper, and it's probably tearing up the paper. I'm getting away with it. And this side is more like a, here we go, back to this one, but with a little bit firmer texture, I guess you could say. And I like this kind of shape because it's small and it can fit in my pocket. I keep a lot of I usually keep in my pocket this, a Kaweco, an eraser, a pocket fountain pen. Oh my god, don't get me started. I geek out about fountain pens. And one of these. So, but I like that I can kind of get into fine detailed edges, especially when I kind of hone the edge a little bit. And, you can see it's getting in there, not quite as much, but if I hone the edge, I could get just as fine a line with that, which is something I like very much. Okay, why don't I move on to this? This is one of my favorite things. This is an M&R pencil sharpener / chalk sharpener. I use this for sharpening chalk when I do chalkboard work, and I've had this for a long time. In fact, this is my second one. I lost the last one. I'm like, yeah. In fact, I actually had this as a backup, because I was like, if you ever lose that, and this is just a conventional thing, but like I've used this quite a bit, and it barely, I don't even notice that it's dulled. This is by the same company, and this is called their Bullet pencil sharpener. Kind of just really, it's really essentially the same thing. Just different shape, and I had to have it. So there's that. I think what had happened is I'd read that this is a pencil sharpener that could handle the Kaweco, because I'm not always that in love with their pencil sharpener, but I found it made such a long skinny point on it. I was like, yeah, I think I'll go back to what I had before, I came crawling back to that. So these are both just great. And then last but not least, this is something I don't use that much, but I wanted to talk about it. In fact, I've had this thing for like probably 10, 20, probably over 20 years now I think about it. And this is called a paper stomp. And the fact that I even had it is kind of a miracle. But all it does is, instead of using your hands to smear things out, and you can also use tissue paper or something like that, Kleenex, whatever. Actually, here you can kind of see where this is where the abuse I put this paper through is showing up, because I used the sand-sided here, and you see how that's kind of picking up the texture more. And that's going to be like, I can still erase it, but it's definitely, the paper has been kind of furred up there. So back to the toning, or well, how the paper stomp, I don't know why it's called a paper stomp. I was so baffled the first time I saw this, like on a supply list, when I was a teenager for art classes at a local college. I was like, what the hell is a paper stomp? I don't know. It's this. And then there's a variety of sort of shapes and sizes. So this is actually one of the larger ones. And all it does is this. Which isn't bad, really. I mean, you know, that's what it does. You know, don't stress, you can use so many other things besides this thing. So maybe I'll give this away as a freebie for, you know, I don't know, lucky winner for some ridiculous reason or something. And then here, this is just another example of sort of using negative space or carving in with that. Isn't that cool? And again, I could do this with a lot of different ones. That's just what I happen to pick up. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope that was helpful. And again, number 2 pencil is just fine. You can do so much cool stuff with a regular number 2 pencil. It's really about the skill more than the geeking out. I feel very hypocritical as I say that, but there you go. I'm the horrible warning instead of the good example. All right, have a great day, and thank you.